Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Matt's going to be teaching you a beautiful take on John Lennon's Imagine. Now, I got a chance to play through this entire arrangement, and I've got to say it's a lot of fun to play. But secondly, I think Matt did a really good job at taking what was difficult about this tune and making it easier. So let me explain what that means. If you think about the melody line that John sings in the song, it gets quite syncopated at times. And anytime that we have to play rhythms that are syncopated, well, that means that it becomes a lot more challenging to do. So, what Matt did, and this is specifically in the verses, is that he simplified the rhythms to make it a little bit more beginner friendly. With that said, if you are a more advanced player, I'd encourage you to alter them and make them more true to what you hear on the record. Now, Matt's going to be talking about this concept more so in the lesson, but it's just something to keep in mind for right now. So let's go ahead and take a step back though, and let's talk a little bit about the lesson. So in this video, Matt's going to be teaching you how to play the entire arrangement, but if you want to get the tabs to print off and keep for your records, that's going to be available at this link right here, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com, do a search for Imagine. Now also on that page will be the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a great asset in learning this song that much easier. Alright guys, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Matt to teach you how to play this, and then I'll catch you at the end of the video.
Hello, my name is Matt Dahlberg, and in today's lesson we're going to learn Imagine by John Lennon done on high G ukulele. Let's go ahead and dive into the beginning right with the intro section. We're going to start here by working on a C chord by just playing all open. We're going to pluck our G and our E strings together using our thumb and our middle fingers. Then we're going to play the C string with our index finger here. And we're going to do this 3 total times. Then we're going to play this C major 7 by just taking our middle finger, placing it here on the 2nd fret of the A string. Plucking our E and A, I like to use my middle and my ring fingers for sort of this 4-finger picking type of technique. And then after I pluck those two, I'm going to play open on the C again. So measure 1 in time for the intro should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into the second measure now, we're going to play an F chord. To do that, take your middle finger, place it on the 2nd fret of the G string, index finger here on the 1st fret of the E string, pluck your E and A together, then your C, and your E and A again, your C, E and A again, and C again. So 3 total times. And then to finish the measure, you're going to pluck your G and E strings here at 2 and 1. And then you're going to do 2 slides from 2 and 1 to 3 and 2 to 4 and 3. The trick to making that slide sound good is to just maintain contact with the fingers, fretting. Don't let up at all. If anything, increase the pressure ever so slightly with the fingers to keep that sound going. So measure 2 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And what's cool about this is it just repeats. So this is the whole intro. It's just measures 1 and 2 together, played 2 times all the way through. Should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. From here, we go on to the second melody, which is the verse. We're going to start with just open on the C and E, and then we're going to play open on the G 4 times. And then we're going to play 2 on the A to finish this measure. Now, something that's really important here is the rhythm that's played here is just straight eighth notes with a couple quarter notes. But I want you to think of the original words of the song. I want you to think of imagine there's no heaven, which is the lyrics of the tune at this point. Now, when you play it straight in time, it sounds like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. But when you play it on your own, it's okay to hold certain parts a little bit longer. For instance, you can do imagine there's no, and then as it goes to the next part, heaven, right? So it's okay to play to the feel of the tune, and how you feel this melody should be played, and use your artistic license as you go through. It's totally fine. In fact, it's encouraged to help make this song your own. But that first measure is pretty straightforward. Again, in time sounds something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 4 now. Measure 4, exactly the same as measure 2. No difference whatsoever. So in time, measure 4 sounds something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. From here we go on to measure 5. Measure 5 is going to be very similar to measure 3. It's going to be the open C and open E strings, open G string 4 times again, and then 2 on the A to end that measure. The rhythm's just a little bit different here. And in time, measure 5 sounds something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into measure 6 is exactly the same as measures 4 and 2 were, which sound like this in time: 2 and 3 and 4 and. And so that you can hear it, I'm going to actually play these 4 measures together. I'm going to play measures 3, 4, 5, and 6, just so that you can get a good feel for it. It should sound something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 7 now, we're going to play the same open C and E, open G on the open on the G twice this time, and then 2 on the A. Really straightforward measure. In time sounds something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 8, exactly the same as 2, 4, and 6 all were. In time, 2 and 3 and 4 and. And so that you can hear the pair of these measures together, here's what measures 7 and 8 sound like: 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 9 now. For measure 9, we're going to play the same open C and E, open on the G 4 times again, and then 2 on the A twice this time. So in time, measure 9 sounds something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into measure 10 here, measure 10 is the first time we're playing this F chord and not doing that whole riff. It's actually a little bit easier. So it's not exactly the same as measures 2, 4, 6, and 8 all were, but rather it's going to be just 1 on the E and 0 on the A, plucking those 2, then open on the C, and you do this 4 total times. So it's. And in time, measure 10 should sound something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. And measures 9 and 10 should sound something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on now to measure 11, we're going to play through this same F chord, so we keep our fingers where they were. I like to use my thumb and strum through all 4 strings here. Then play open on the A, 3 on the A with the ring finger, open on the A again, 3 on the A with the ring finger again, taking the index finger off to make this A minor chord. Then play 7 on the A with the ring finger, just sliding it up right there. Play it twice. So measure 11 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And measure 12 here, a little bit of 16th note action. We're going to bar across the 5th fret all the way for this little F6 chord. We're going to strum through the C, E, and A with our thumb. And we're going to immediately play the G string and then the E string. So that little start has that 16th note run. And then we can go back to finger picking and play 1 on the E with our index finger here. Open on the A, 1 on the E, 3 on the A with the ring finger. So measure 12 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And the pair now measures 11 and 12, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going into measure 13, we're going to go to a G chord, index finger here on the 2nd fret of the C string, ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the E string, middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the A string, strum through all 4, play 2 on the A again, then 0 G, 2 C, 3 E and 2 A together, and then 3 on the A, just adding the pinky here. So in time, measure 13 should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And going into measure 14 now, we're going to play a G7. Now, not a normal G7, my personal favorite. Take these 3 fingers, move them up 3 frets so that the index and middle fingers here are on fret 5. Then take the ring finger and stretch it up to 7 on the E string. Now, you can play it this way, which is just like your G chord moved up. You can also, if it's more comfortable, you can have your index finger bar across the 5th fret of the C, E, and A with the ring finger here on 7 of the E. Both of these are correct. Just whatever you're more comfortable with. I kind of like this just for the movement's sake, but this works great too. And then we're going to play 7 on the A with our pinky. Move our pinky up to 10 on the A all by itself. Then we're going to play 7 on the A with the index finger here. And we're going to slide down. Now when we do this slide, we kind of want to hit 5 with the slide. That's our melody note. But it's okay to kind of pass it as you're going through because of where we're going to next. It's a repeat, so we go back to measure 3, and then when we go on to the chorus, we're going to be going to an F chord. The point is that this slide just sets up our hand to be moving down to the base of the ukulele, to the first couple frets, and by doing that slide down to 5, we can have that general direction, and you don't have to necessarily stop there as you move. A little confusing, just play 7 and slide it down and get that melody. So measure 14 sounds like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And measures 13 and 14 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And from here, it repeats back to the beginning of the verse. And it plays all the way through the verse twice before then we go on to the chorus. So that you can hear it, I'm going to play the verse all the way through. I'm going to do measures 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 so that you can get the sound of this awesome section. It should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And from here, again, we can repeat. And after we've gone through the repeat, we then go on to the next part here on measure 15, which is the start of the chorus. Now, to start this part, we're going to play an F chord as we did before. We're going to strum through our G, C, and E strings together. Then we're going to play open on the A, 3 on the A with the ring finger. Then we're going to switch to a G chord. So index finger, 2nd fret of the C string, ring finger, 3rd fret of the E string, middle finger, 2nd fret of the A string. Strum through all 4 strings. And this part's a little bit tricky, but bear with me. You're going to take your pinky, add it on the 3rd fret of the A string. You're going to pluck that, do a pull off to 2, then a pull off to open. So the trick to doing those pull-offs, to making them sound really good, is just making sure that you're actually plucking the string with the finger as it goes. So my pinky finger here, it doesn't just pull off, it actually plucks the string as it goes with these movements. And the same can be said with my ring finger, or excuse me, my middle finger, as I do that. And so it looks like this. So that's something that you want to work on as you're practicing this, just to make sure you get it just right. And then after you've played that, what you're going to do is you're going to play open on the A and hammer onto 2 on the A. So that sums up measure 15, which is a pretty tricky one if you haven't done it before. Should sound something like this though. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 16, we're going to play a C chord. We're going to finally use our 3rd fret here on the A string with our ring finger. First time we're playing a real C chord. We're going to play the 3 on the A again, and then open on the C, open on the E. Then we move to an E7. Take that ring finger, slide it down 1 fret to the 2nd fret of the A string, add the middle finger here to the 2nd fret of the C string, and our index finger here to the 1st fret of the G string. Strum through all 4 strings. Play the 2 on the A to finish that measure 16. In time, measure 16 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And measures 15 and 16, the start of the chorus, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 17 now. Start off the same way as 15 with our F chord. Strum our G, C, and E strings, stopping on the A, then play the A. Play the 3 on the A with the ring. Play our G chord again. And instead of doing the hammer-on pull-off stuff that we were doing earlier, or the 3 on the A rather, right? We're going to just pull off from 2 to 0, so just a single pull-off instead of the double. Then we're going to play the 2 back on the A string. So measure 17 in time, something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then going on to measure 18, it's going to be a C chord, stopping on the A string, and then we're going to play open on the C, open on the E, and then an E7 all the way through. Then we play 2 on the A. So it's almost the same as what we did on measure 16, just a little bit simpler. Now it just plays this G, C, E, and the C, E, E7, and the A string. So in time, 18 should sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And 17 and 18 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 19 now, we're going to play an F chord the way we have been throughout this chorus. We're going to play open on the A twice, then 3 on the A once. Then we play our G chord again. And then we're going to do our same double pull off with 3 on the A. Pull off to 2 on the A, still holding the G chord. Pull off to open on the A. Then play 2 on the A to finish that. Unlike measure 15 where we did the hammer on there, we just play the 2 on the A by itself. So 19 in time sounds like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into measure 20, we're going to play the exact same thing that we did on measure 16. So with our C chord into our E7 chord. In time, measure 27 should sound like this. Or excuse me, measure 20 should sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the pair of 19 and 20 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into 21, we're going to play an F and then 3 on the A twice. And we're finally going to switch. We're going to move up to that G7 we played earlier, where you can bar across the 5th fret on the C, E, and A. Add the ring finger here on 7 of the E string. And then we're going to play 7 on the A with our pinky and pull off to 5 on the A. This is really tricky, this little part here. This is where you can play the G7 this way, or if you remember earlier, we talked about doing it like this too. I find it to be a little bit easier this way for the pull off, just because it gives me more stability with 3 fingers over 2, and the angle is a little bit more friendly. But remember that the pinky physically plucks the A string to create that sound. And then after we've done that pull off, we're then going to take the pinky and move it up to 8 on the E string and play that. And then we need to play the 5 on the A string, which will be covered there either with the bar or the middle finger. Really tight little area, but a lot of fun to work with when you get comfortable with it, just because, well, it's up the fretboard and feels cool. So measure 21 in time sounds like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into measure 22, we're going to take this and slide it up to 7. So index finger is on 7 of the C, E, and A. Middle finger goes here on the 8th fret of the E string. Strum through all 4 strings. And then play 8 on the E twice, followed by harmonics on our G, C, and E strings all together, like this. If you haven't worked on harmonics before, there's a video that's linked. Real quick summary though, is you want to make sure that with harmonics, you're not compressing the frets, you're just lightly touching, and you're not in between the frets like you would be when you're fretting something, you're actually right over the fret wire. So right here on fret 12, that wire, notice I'm not compressing, I'm just touching. And as I feel the strings start to vibrate, I take the hand away. So measure 22 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And measures 21 and 22 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And that is actually the end of the chorus. So that you can hear it, here's measures 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. Should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now from here, we actually go on to the outro. And here's what's cool. The outro is exactly the same as the intro. No difference whatsoever. We just repeat it and fade out as we go. I like to do it twice, maybe 3 times as I go through, but it's exactly the same as the intro. There's no difference whatsoever other than the fact that we fade out. To do a really good fade out, just get quieter as you play, and a little bit of a slowdown is okay too. So I'm going to play the outro, measures 23 and 24, which is exactly the same as measures 1 and 2. And I'm going to repeat them, and I'll repeat them 3 times, getting softer and a little bit slower as I go so that you can hear what it sounds like for a fade out and repeat of the outro. Should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. You hear I just kind of work it to a whisper. And there you have it. There is the end of this beautiful arrangement of this beautiful melody by John Lennon. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. This is a really wonderful melody to work on, and as I mentioned in the beginning, there's a lot of syncopation that's not necessarily represented by this tab and by this arrangement that we're working on. So that's where it's up to you to add your own musicality, and how you feel that melody should be played is how you should play it on the ukulele. Use this to get the right muscle memory of the right notes to play, and then trust your instincts for exactly when to play them, and try to line it up with the lyrics to the best of your ability. Thank you so much. I'll look forward to seeing you next time on the next lesson here on Rock Class 101. See ya.
All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed learning this arrangement. It is such a beautiful tune and a ton of fun to play. Now, I did want to give you a friendly reminder that if you did want to get the tabs to print off and keep for your records, that was available at this link right here, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com and do a search for Imagine. Now, also on that page was the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer, so you can literally hit play, you can watch that tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down, all that jazz. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed learning this tune, and we will catch you in the next lesson. Take care.